today's court ruling, which could pave the way for her son to appeal against his conviction. Jordan Cunliffe was one of the 3 teenagers found guilty, as I'm sure you remember, of murdering Gary Newlove in Warrington in 2007.
Yeah, he was convicted under controversial joint enterprise laws. Well, today the Supreme Court ruled that courts have been using these laws wrongly for decades. Andy Gill has this report.
It was a truly shocking crime in a very ordinary suburban street.
The death of Gary Newlove at the hands of teenagers who'd been on a drink and drugs binge appalled the nation. The court heard that during the attack in Warrington, his head was kicked like a football. 3 teenagers were convicted of murdering him under the joint enterprise laws. One of them, Jordan Cunliffe, denied taking part in the actual attack and said his eyesight was so poor he couldn't see in detail what was happening. His mother, who's campaigned for his release, welcomed today's ruling.
I'm absolutely overjoyed that no one else will have to go through what we've gone through. No one else will have to suffer like my son has. But at the same time, I feel really emotional because his life has been ruined because the law got it wrong in 1984.
Other North West cases where people have been convicted under joint enterprise include 2 men jailed for the manslaughter in Liverpool of off-duty policeman Neil Doyle, and 3 teenagers jailed for the murder of a homeless man, Kevin Bennett, again in Liverpool. Until now, under joint enterprise, a jury could convict you of murder if they believed that you could foresee someone you were with might commit violence and you did nothing about it. It didn't matter if you took no actual part in the physical assault, you'd still be guilty. Now, though, the Supreme Court has decided that having that foresight about what someone else might do is not proof of guilt. The jury should look at it as evidence and consider it along with all the other evidence in a case. Today's ruling does not mean that people like Jordan Cunliffe will be released, but it could pave the way for them to appeal. Gary Newlove's widow Helen was made a baroness and is now the Victims Commissioner for England and Wales. She declined to comment on today's ruling. Andy Gill, BBC North West Tonight.
Well, just before we came on air, I spoke to the legal expert Joshua Rosenberg and I asked him if today's ruling in the Supreme Court would apply to all joint enterprise convictions.
Joint enterprise covers a wide range of cases. If 2 people go out together to commit a crime, that's joint enterprise, but that's not going to be affected. If one person encourages another person to commit a crime and they do it together, that's not affected. What we're talking about here is a gang. They go out maybe to cause mischief. Somebody has a knife. The people on the edge of the gang had no idea about that. The person with the knife kills somebody. Does the person on the edge who did not foresee that there was going to be a killing, is he responsible for murder? Well, he has been up to now. The Supreme Court has said no, just because he foresaw it, that's not sufficient. What's necessary is to show that he really intended to be part of the murder.
So specifically in the case then of Gary Newlove, we understand his wife Helen Newlove has said no comment today. One would understand if she was unhappy. How does this apply to Jordan Cunliffe and his joint enterprise conviction?
Jordan Cunliffe's lawyers already made an application to the Criminal Cases Review Commission, which is a body that looks at suspected miscarriages of justice, and they will consider his application in the light of this new case today. But they will decide what category it falls in. They may well decide that it falls within the first category where 2 or 3 people go out together to commit a crime. In that case, it would not be affected by the judgment, and I don't see how he's going to be able to get his conviction overturned as a result of this ruling.
Joshua Rosenberg, thank you. Next tonight, a nurse who admitted wrongly administering